Hi, I'm Chap Bettis, author of The Disciple Making Parent, and this is my audio blog where I read some of my blog posts in audio format for your convenience. Well, in today's episode, we're going to be thinking about a vital principle, and I entitle it Protection, Not Secrecy. And I think it's vital that every married couple understands this principle: protection, not secrecy. Well, our small group of newly marrieds recently had its first meeting, and as we were talking about applying Christian principles to marriage, two young men remarked about the atmosphere in their workplace. Almost every male coworker, they said, regularly complained about his wife and his marriage. What had started with high hopes had turned sour, and they wanted all their buddies at work to know. We know Christians can fall into the same behavior. Whether at work or to our friends or even just in our own hearts, we can grumble about our wives or our husbands. And while complaining certainly is a temptation of wives, also I want to just take a minute to remind us of our calling as men. Well, the Bible tells us that love protects and honors. God calls a husband to provide and pastor and protect. One way a man protects his wife is by protecting her reputation. We know that a marriage involves two sinners, and there's going to be difficulty. In those moments, though, how will we respond? As Christians, we're responsible for our actions and our reactions. See, when a husband complains about his wife, he is merely revealing his foolishness. In that moment, he's not protecting her. He's not loving her as a sister in Christ, nor is he showing her honor as a co-heir of grace, like 1 Peter 3:7 tells us. See, honor displays itself in expressions of respect or esteem. When we complain, we're rejecting God's good gift to us. Shouldn't we be able to say, she's not perfect, but she's perfect for me? Rather than complaining, the New Testament tells us that thanksgiving is a mark of a Christian. Grumbling and complaining besmirch our reputation more than hers. And ladies, this call to honor certainly applies to you as well. But in the mix of this sin, I wonder if some of the reason the men complain is because they don't know how to work through the normal difficulties of marriage. Perhaps it's also because they don't have a community to teach or help them. There seems to be this cultural assumption that each marriage will, quote, live happily ever after, end quote, by itself. And that brings us to the opposite corrective here, which is protection and not secrecy. You see, while love protects and honors, it doesn't conceal secrets. The call to honor the privacy of the home is not an absolute one. We're called to protect, but we're not called to secrecy. In fact, Jesus in Matthew 18 commands just the opposite. We can and should include others in our marriage and in our marriage problems. We're to be part of a like-minded fellowship that can help each other through hard times. See, problems that may cause Christian men to give into cynicism and despair should drive Christian men to seek out advice or counsel. We can involve a few others in a way that is honest with the disagreement while still wanting to love the other. On at least 3 occasions, Sharon and I have reached such a point of impasse on a topic that we sat down with another couple so that they could hear us out and give us their input. In all 3 cases, we each believed the issue was important and we were in the right. We sought out older friends who were trustworthy and would give biblical counsel. The outside perspective of more mature Christian friends helped break through the logjam of self-deception. In my Christian circles, the temptation to silence seems much more common. So a couple can't agree on an important issue. They're at an impasse. But because of this code of silence, neither party ever thinks to involve others. Men, God has given us brothers and sisters just for this moment. Marriage is not meant to stand on its own. Don't let pride stand in the way. Humble yourself and invite others in. God calls us to love one another. And that call includes the person closest to me, my spouse. We are to love the one we're with. And one of the ways that love expresses itself is by protecting and honoring her with others. I do that as I cover a multitude of sins, speaking of the best in her. And, in addition, love also expresses itself by refusing to conceal sin or accept a permanent impasse. The solution? God calls us to protection, but not secrecy. Today's episode is meant to help you live out the gospel in your home. For more information like this and to find out more about our ministry, visit thedisciplemakingparent.com. If you like this material, you can find more posts like this at thedisciplemakingparent.com. So visit our website to learn how to live out the gospel in your home. And if you've enjoyed this episode and this podcast, let me ask you, who can you tell about this podcast? You might just change their eternity. Well, I'm Chap Bettis. Thanks for listening.